to From the Tower, a podcast dedicated to the pride of EA Band by two band directors who have nothing better to do than record their after-school ramblings.
Welcome back, friends and family and band nerds alike. It is I, David Gambino, assistant band director over here at East Ascension High School. Happy to be joined by Coach Brownfield, our wonderful producer, and my partner in crime, Mr. Charles Lee. Charles, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Actually, it's actually very good, because I've had some of our kids come up to me in the past couple of weeks. Oh, I didn't know this about you. I didn't know this about Mr. Gambino. And so everyone's kind of listening. And so this is starting to kind of gain traction now.
Look, guys, remember, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, send all this stuff out. Get EA TV on everybody's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Get us out there. We wanna tell everybody about the pride of EA and what we do over here. So we've got a fun, packed show for you today. Let's start off with talking about our downbeat, what's happening right now. Well, we've got De La Salle this week. It's the game coming up down in Metairie.
Today.
Yes.
Not Friday.
Not Friday. You're right. It is on Thursday. So, excuse me. Getting ready for that game all week. It's a pep band. We love pep band games. It's so much fun. It's easy work, and we get to go out, play loud music, and support our Spartans as much as we can. So we're looking forward to that. We just had Banbury, which is a community festival approach to the marching competition scene that we got good feedback on, and I think we got some expected feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Some things that we knew we were coming. What were your big takeaways from Banbury?
My big take. Well, there's actually a few things. One. Banbury is our pre-festival that we do, or I guess I never made the connection until this morning that it comes from the word jamboree, like football.
Really?
Jamboree, I don't know. I just thought it was a thing, but yeah, and so so things like marching in step and dynamics. Our Metallica show that we've talked about that we're doing this year. It's high energy all the time, and the problem with that is it can. If you're actually at a Metallica concert, you want that in-your-face music all the time because that's what you paid $3,000 for a ticket for. But
Coach Brownfield, we looked at tickets for going to see Metallica live. It was like $200 for the nosebleeds, like $250.
Field trip.
Yeah. I wish.
Right. But
then they had like a pit,
snake
down
pit.
the snake pit in front of the stage. It was like what, $3,000? Like
it was $3,500.
$3,500
for those tickets to be right there.
Maybe not a field trip for that part.
But when we're doing this as a drum and wind band, with color guard, that could be sonically fatiguing to the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Even the ones who know the music that are enjoying it, it gets to be kind of one note, and so we have to have more peaks and valleys with the dynamics or the volume and that sort of stuff. And so that was a big thing.
And we are an educational entity too.
Absolutely.
So part of the comments and the judging sheets and things, they're asking us to demonstrate basically that we're teaching, teaching dynamics, teaching proper articulation, teaching how to support with good sounds and intonation. So there's that aspect of it too.
Right. And it's kind of like former student, now colleague of mine, who Mr. Joshua Warren, who's the band director at Donaldsonville now.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to get him on here one
Have
day.
to.
He teaches piano on the side, and I've made this reference before. And he said anytime he gets a new piano student, he'll look at the parents and say, "Okay, what is your goal for your child? Do you want me to teach them piano, or do you want me to teach them a song?" And there's a big difference between the two things. And that's what we do here at EA. Is we teach the kids how to play music and to be musical, not just blow their brains out.
Yep.
Which they can. The football team has told me that we are heard on the field, but when it comes to competition stuff, we have to make it as musical as possible. And those are the kinds of comments that we got. And I'll have to say, we probably receive more encouraging comments at a first go than we have in the past couple of years. So I feel like the kids are buying in, and
it's a fun show.
It's a fun show, and
the arrangements are good. The little tweaks that we've done to them are great. It's a good flow, and we got a good group of kids that are really invested in it. And speaking of our show in Banbury, stay tuned for our very special guest, Mr. Joey Nasser, the head band director from Santa Ma. Will be joining us in just a little bit to talk about Banbury, talk about marching band, talk about the band culture in Ascension Parish, and a few other topics of discussion. So let's jump to show news now. Because guess what? All of our drill for the whole show is on the field.
And that's exciting because sometimes we're learning drill all the way up into some of the last competitions.
And I mean, we still have to, clean and edit and add things, but the base is on the field.
Right.
The general movements, everything that we need to know to at least be somewhat successful and have a full product is on the field. And,
Coach Brownfield, anybody else who doesn't know, a couple years ago, sometimes no matter what your profession is, you got to do take a step back and do kind of a self-reflection. And, with the competition band, we have alternates that don't get to march because, you put your best marchers on the field and that sort of stuff. But, at the end of the day, we're a high school organization teaching high school kids. And I didn't like the idea of the potential of kids being in band and never stepping foot on the field because, they're maybe not the best marcher or the best player, and mom and dad wants to see them on the field and they want to have that experience. So we created what's called the Spirit Show a couple of years ago, which is an easier drill that we can just rotate. It's the same drill that stays the same. We put a different song in there so everyone can have a chance to march halftime. Well, this year
we got crafty.
Actually, this was Mr. Gambino's brainchild. And we wrote the third movement, our third and final movement of the show, be a little bit easier, and we actually made that the Spirit Show. So we taught them the third movement, but we didn't tell them what it was. And so we played our first couple of halftime shows. And so we got to so we have three movements. So the last formation of movement 1 is the first formation of movement 2. And the last formation of movement 2 is the first one of movement 3. So we got to the last formation of movement 2. And I'm up at the tower 30 feet in the air and I'm looking.
And I'm like holding in my excitement, like getting giddy because we're like, we had like 5 minutes of practice left. It's like, come on, we got to learn this next set. Hustle.
And you could just see like one at a time. It was like
light
rain.
bulbs going to
light bulbs over here, light bulbs over there. And
this looks familiar.
They're talking to their neighbors and stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, we've done this before. And then all of a sudden we're like, the whole show, we tricked you.
And then we had one kid, poor kid. He marches a different spot for the Spirit Show. Mm-hmm. So when we announced it's the same thing as our Spirit Show, he goes, no, I got to learn a new spot.
But so, it's all on the field now. Now it's just perfecting the music and cleaning.
Absolutely. And our Movement 3 music's next, which is Master of Puppets and Lux Eterna. So we're just putting those two things together. And I always tell the kids,
we want to work on, I'm a robot. We want to work on mastering
that bass line.
Ba-doom-ch.
The bass line and the mastering the basics first, and then we can add the flourishes.
Right.
Okay? The flourishes are the fun stuff, though, so we want to get to that as fast as possible.
Right.
It's like a trick play in football.
Yeah, pretty much. You got to learn how to run, a basic out route before you can put a Statue of Liberty in there, right?
Absolutely.
That means something to y'all that doesn't mean anything to me.
Due to producer error, we missed the first few minutes of the conversation between Mr. Gambino and Lee and San Juan Band Director Joey Nasser. So we're going to join that interview in progress. We missed the beginning, the introduction, but most of the substance is there. Hope you enjoy.
This is my 4th year as the head band director at San Juan. I'm really just loving every minute of it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we're all really good friends with the previous head director, Mr. Craig Miet, and there was a big, oh wow, Craig's stepping down, Joey's going to step up, and everybody was interested to see how the new, which direction the program would take and things like that. And of course, still that program of excellence, but it was a fun, unique experience, kind of getting to watch, one legacy stepping down and the next rising up into it. So what were some of the challenges maybe, or were there any challenges like moving up into that head role? You'd already been there forever, so it wasn't too different, but was there any unique things that happened in that process?
Well, one of the best things that happened is, Craig and I have been friends forever. Mm-hmm. He actually was the band director when I was a senior in high school. So he actually taught me for a year, and then we became friends. We played music together and all, and then we worked here for 20 some years together. And when he decided he was going to retire, he made a decision that he would go into the drop program, which is the early retirement program, and then he would move into the third role and let me move into the head position. That really was just a super kind and selfless act
Absolutely.
that he did. And his thought, and I'm so honored and blessed that he did it, was to make that transition as seamless as possible, so that there was this handing over of that role, and he was there to support me and to show the kids that he supported it. And just having his acknowledgement that it was going to be okay and he was going to still work, quote unquote, under me, was, I think, really the thing that helped make that transition is as smooth as it was.
Absolutely.
And I admire him for that, because in the band director world and sports world, or anywhere where you have polarizing people, like egos a lot of time rule the roost.
Oh, yeah.
So for someone to be able to have a career like Craig did, and then be able to do that, not only shows, like you said, his selflessness, but his trust in you and that kind of stuff. What is it like for you now that he's not there? I mean, I know you transitioned 4 years ago, but like, he's not there anymore. So what's that like?
Well, he has more ice in the ice machine because Craig's not just emerging to get ice in,
Right.
in his drink.
Well, truthfully, Craig has been by several times since school started, and every time he comes by, I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, I need some ice. Or I need to put something in the dumpster." Those kind of things. But and that's 100% Craig. The hardest thing is just, like you said, just him not being here, and just not being able to shoot the breeze and just hang out. I mean, we're best of friends for all these years, like you guys are. And it's just coming in every day and knowing he was going to be here, and just watching our kids grow up together and watching the families change. And I mean, it's just the hardest part is just walking in and still expecting him to be here, and he's not. It's just, I mean, he's a legend. I mean, everything I know how to do, I learned from Craig, and he was a great teacher and a great mentor, but he was just a great friend. And it's weird. It's just weird not having him here.
Yeah. Well, now you've got Andrew and Alexis to build that with, both two great assistant directors that we're also friends with, and great partners in our working community. So speaking of our working community, let's talk about the biggest thing that our band director family just had. Santa Ma's Duck Roost Bandboree event that we have every year. It's a fantastic event where a bunch of local high schools get together, and just like a football jamboree, it's kind of like a practice run for all of us to get our marching competition shows on the field, hang out, have a good experience, get some feedback, and then watch the kids have a dance party and get to meet from other schools. So Joey, how did y'all come up with the idea for a Bandboree? Because this was the 7th iteration of it, 7th year that we've done it. And how did y'all come up with the idea, and how do you think this year's went?
Yeah, it was maybe 10 or more years ago. It's been a while. They had started doing a similar thing in the Lafayette area, and they called it Bandboree. And we always wanted to be a part of that because it seemed to be so much fun. And then one year, Scotty Walker invited us to go when they were hosting it, and we were able to go down there. And it was such an incredible experience. We just knew we wanted to bring that to our area. And so we just decided the first year we did it, which was this the 7th annual, but we took a year or so off with different things with the COVID and all.
Gotcha,
but we just we thought we're just going to do this thing, and we just invited Ascension Parish bands, and I think maybe Walker or Denham. We had maybe 4 bands the first year. We just wanted to do it and get together with all our band director friends and let all the kids get together and get some good feedback. We didn't want to make any money. We didn't want to we just wanted to have a good time. Well, the thing caught on, and we have decided to limit it because we want to keep it small and keep it kind of intimate, where we can have all the kids play together and have a dance party together. And so we turned down tons of bands every year who want to come, and because it's just everybody knows it's one of the best things we do during the year for band. It's just so much fun.
Oh, for sure. I think my favorite by far is the mass band where all of the students get together and play Amazing Grace at the end. It's always the rehearsals for that are fun, watching 900 kids try to, play a beautiful ballad, but it's always just magical. And there's like certain points, a really great arrangement. There's certain points it's just like you can't help but get goosebumps and, getting your feels about it a little bit.
Joey is a Amazing Grace, because I'm not from here, so I've only experienced Banbury since I've been at EA. So is Amazing Grace for the band, the mass band, something that's always been done? And then how did y'all decide to pick that song over any other?
Yeah, well, we've always done that at the Banbury, but the way it started, it was many years ago. We were having it was during the recession, maybe 20 years ago. They were talking about making some cuts in bands, band directors and band staff, and just band positions in our parish.
Oh, wow.
Well, we organized what we called Ascension Parish Band Day, and we had a thing at the EA Stadium, actually, and all the high school bands in the district, Santa Monica EA, Dutchtown and Donaldsonville, and all the middle school bands. We had like a thing, kind of like we do for Banbury. All the bands went out, they did their marching show. Then we did a mass band with all the middle school and high school bands, and invited all the community there. And we used we used Amazing Grace that year, and it was such a huge thing. And it was so just moving for everybody. Not only did it save our band programs, but it became something the community really looked forward to, and we just kept it because it was just special to us.
Oh, okay. That's really cool.
A great piece of history that I hadn't heard, and love to hear it. That's fantastic. So, shifting back to like the other part of Banbury is, we said our marching shows. For most people that listen and kind of know what we talk about, for those that are newer to the marching arts, during marching season, marching bands play at football games and play at other spirit organization events. But we also have our own shows that we put together for competitive purposes or for halftime purposes. At Banbury, we get to show off what we have so far of our competition shows, and we all go to different competitions. I know both Santa Ma and E are going to the Bayou Land Classic. We'll go to Dutchtown, and then there's other competitions that we all go to in the process. So, Joey, what are your thoughts on competitive marching band, like in the holistic sense of like the importance of it to your program, as well as like maybe the shape and form and how it's grown into what it is today?
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with competitive marching band, and I think that probably most band directors do. Years ago in our parish, nobody was doing competitive marching band. I started at Santa Ma, and when I came in here in 99, and Craig was here, he had taken over as head band director at that point. We decided we were going to start doing some little local competitions. Well, at the time, it was just Santa Ma and EA on this side of the river, and EA wasn't doing anything at the time. Miss Bell was still there, and so we did a few competitions. And then after a couple years, we got invited to go to the showcase of marching bands in Lafayette. Well, and then right about that time, Dutchtown had formed, and then the other bands in the parish started realizing, hey, this is a good thing, because what it did for us was it gave us, I guess you could say, a goal for the season, something to work toward. It's always fun to play at the football games, and that's rewarding. And I think for us as band directors, we're always looking for that next thing. What can we do to give the kids and give the band something to aim for, to strive for?
That motivation, and goal,
and when you put a little competition in it, and in the band world, it's always friendly competition. But when we add that competition, it gets everybody more focused, and it's a lot more fun, I think. It's hard work, and it gets frustrating, but I think it gives the kids something to look forward to that's not only playing on the football game.
Yeah, for sure. We here at EA, we try to do as best as possible, and we're very lucky with the student section that we have. Our football experiences are spectacular, and there's a lot to look forward to as too. But you're right in some instances that our kids need something to work towards. Everybody needs a goal. Everybody needs something to achieve. That achievement is how we're going to measure success and build success.
And not to mention, we all teach our kids music academically, and so when you're blowing your brains out during football season, and that's the only thing you're doing, you run the risk of like losing out on musical aspects and musicality, and you lose some just to turn around in concert season in January to like change gears and then work towards festival and stuff. So almost kind of gives us, not quite a festival ratings kind of thing, but it kind of does, because we're graded on the same things. We're just moving around in the grass.
Everything is easier when you have a metric system to kind of build off of, right? So
that's right.
Speaking of that feedback, we all got feedback this past weekend from Banbury. What was the feedback for y'all's show? What's the title of y'all's show this year, Joey, and what's it about?
Yeah, the show is titled Into Thin Air, and it's based on the book by John Krakauer, where he kind of chronicles the planning and then the climb up Mount Everest and all the trials and tragedies that happened on the way up, and then the descent through the mountain. And it's a really compelling book. It was a bestseller, and they made it into a movie, and it's just the imagery is just, everybody knows Mount Everest. The imagery is just wonderful. There's a lot of things to do, but it also, if we're going to be a little, academic about it, it's also about, it's about the struggle, the climb, the achievement, and what it's like to reach the pinnacle of what you do, and how you have to work so hard and endure so many things to get there. So there, it's just a great, metaphor for what we do in marching band.
Absolutely. So were you happy with this first performance, with the feedback that y'all got? I know we received a lot of positive feedback on our show, and some good things to think about going forward, especially with, for us, like adjusting dynamics and making sure that we're giving the audience a break in some instances, and balance and phasing issues and feet phasing and things. So how about y'all? How were your comments and feedback?
Yeah, same. I mean, we had some great feedback, like you guys did. The best part about doing this early show, as you all know, is getting a fresh set of eyes and ears on the product where it is. We get kind of blind to things. We see it every day. We see it develop. We know what issues we have, but then some things you don't recognize. So having somebody come and take a first read on the show, seeing it one time and getting one look at it and being able to say, all right, these things were really good. These things need some improvement. What's your focus here? What story are you trying to tell? How are you trying to connect with the audience? And, that's the most valuable thing to us when it's early. So we got some time to make some course correction if we need to, and add and change. And it's good to validate things that we're doing well, but it also need a little wake up call. It's like going to the doctor. You need to get told what you need to do to make yourself healthier. And the same thing with the band. What do we need to do to make this thing the best it can be?
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of that feedback and that course correction, and it may not necessarily apply to this year, but just kind of in general, when you get feedback that's like completely opposite of what you thought, or like something that, man, that hadn't occurred to me, like, what do you do with that? How do you handle like that kind of, wait, hang on, we need to fix something here?
Yeah. Sometimes it's like hits you like a ton of bricks. You're like, man, especially when you put so much time and effort into developing something, and you just know this is right, and then somebody else sees it like, this doesn't work. I don't get it. I don't understand this. Just, you need to make some changes. And, I used to take that a lot more personally, but now I realize, well, I mean, we're entertainers, at our basic level. So I tell the kids we're entertainers, we're performers, and we have to make sure that the audience is getting out of it what they need to get out of it. So the judges are, just kind of, they're spokesmen for the audience, if you think of it that way. What do we need to do to look and sound better? And we just got to do that. Sometimes we make the changes. Sometimes, unfortunately, we see things and it's like, well, we just don't have time or the resources or the talent or whatever to do it. And you just have to suck it up. But yeah, it's useful for sure.
Have you ever had an instance where a judge tells you one thing and you just, but it was clear they just didn't get it and you just went on and stayed on course?
My least favorite phrase. I just don't get your show. Like, come on.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's times you get feedback and it's like, no, they're just wrong.
Yeah.
That's just, and it just has to be, a lot of this is opinion based. Right notes and wrong notes, feed in time, not in time, that's pretty clear cut. But we had some comments, for example, one judge said, I really don't understand what you're doing here in this little base camp area, and then the focus is over here. I didn't get it. And another judge was like, well, I really like that. Right in the critique. The other judge was like, well, I really like that. You had two ideas going on, and it was echoing this and all. So, sometimes you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Right. I was about to say, Judge, you just said a base camp. That's the idea. You got it.
Right.
So so for those that haven't seen Santa Monica Show, they literally have a bunch of tents on the field. It's pretty awesome, and they've got a really nice mountainscape that a couple people go up and take solos on, and a couple big mountains in the background. It's a really unique setup for the field, and it looks great. And they have soloists staged all throughout the field. Very interesting and beautiful show. If you get a chance to see it, make sure you do. So, Joey, I know that you write. I think I'm right about this. That you write all of the drill for your competition shows. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your approach to that? How do you start writing? Where do you get the idea from? And I know part of it comes from the show concept and design, but where's that? And for me as a music arranger, it's pretty easy. I can go to the song and figure out, okay, it's going to start at the beginning and end at the end. But for a drill writer, it's how do you come up with that first? I want all the kids stationed like this and positioned like this.
Yeah, it's tough. And writing drill, as a matter of fact, I just finished writing the last part of the show that we learned it this week. And, so when we start, like you said, we start with the concept, what is it? What is the visual story that we need to tell? And so for our shows, a lot of times we'll have props on the field, and that kind of guides what we're going to do. But for example, when you're planning for a show, I hate to say it's a formula, but it kind of is. There is you need to make sure that the music sounds like the visual, and the visual looks like the music. And that's kind of that's kind of a esoteric kind of a thing to say, but for example, we start off this show this year, and the music at the beginning is from John Adams's Grand Pianola music, and so it's kind of minimalist, and it kind of has this echoey stuff. So we start off in base camp, and it's kind of random, people gathering up equipment. People are, warming up, putting things together. And the first few forms are kind of random, and they're moving free form. And the thought is we're moving out of base camp into this next camp, the camp one. In the back, for example, we have these mountain peaks in the back, and we have some choreography going back there. And then we have this a color guard soloist who comes out of from Mount Everest, and she's like the Sherpa. She's coming down through and kind of going down the base camp and getting those guys and kind of leading them back up the mountain.
Was that the girl with the big lantern?
Yeah, with the lantern. Yeah. She's an actress too, so she loves the spotlight.
Oh yeah,
and she does a really, really great job of it. But yeah, so the whole concept of the show is moving from base camp all the way, moving up to the mountain, and then we kind of hit the the pinnacle of the mountain right at the impact moment in that third movement, which is the ballad. And then the fourth movement, it's all kind of really fast music. We're using some musical wind sprints from Richard Saucedo's, and it's starts with a fast clarinet solo, and it's kind of spiraling. We're kind of moving back down the mountain, back towards base camp. And we have a lot of mountain imagery, you know. So my thought was, when I was creating this, how can we use this mountain imagery throughout? So there's a lot of times we have these peaks and valleys, and we have stuff flowing through, and
Gotcha.
yeah, it's just all about kind of, you know, just like, think of it like a Broadway show on the marching band field. You have to tell a story. So yeah, and I make it sounds like it's short, but I started writing this drill in July or June, really, 1st of June, and I finished like this week.
Yeah,
so it takes months and months to really do it, as you guys know.
Oh yeah, and I bet it's nice having an in-house drill writer. Like, well, that set didn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board and adjust and fix some things. So we do
that's just it.
Yeah, we do a segment on the podcast called Gearhead. So I want to do a little mini Gearhead segment. What program do you use to write your drill?
Yeah, I use Pyware.
That's kind of the industry standard.
I think that's what everybody uses. Yeah, it's a great piece of software, and it's really hard to use to learn. But man, once you can master it, you can pretty much do anything you want with it.
Yeah,
I tried one time when I was at St. James before EA. I wrote some of our drill, and not for me. Like I did it and it was fine, but like that is not my forte. I didn't enjoy it like some people do.
and see, for me, that's like Sibelius. Like I can go crazy and knock stuff out on Sibelius. I haven't tried Pyware yet, so maybe I'll dip my toe in the water and just see how that stuff
it's
goes.
not as
To me,
it's not as intuitive as you would like it to be when the learning curve is steep.
It's very simple. It's like a blank canvas, but it's so powerful. I mean, the latest versions. I mean, when you can do the animation, you can see the people move. You see their step sizes. You can have them interact with props. You can do so many things. And for me, I tell my wife this when I'm writing all summer. It's like a video game to me. It really is. And I think of it like a video game. I'm just creating something. You know, these kids play these interactive games where they're building civilizations and you know, doing all. That's what I'm doing. And it's so much fun because I can see it come to life on the screen, and then I can go and see it in reality. It's a blast.
So basically, what you're saying is Pyware is your Minecraft.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was going to say Minecraft, but yeah, I don't want to sound too nerdy. But yeah, it's Minecraft for me. That's exactly right.
Well, we know what time it is. Next week is Gator Week for us, and I guess y'all call it Spartan Week or something over there. Rivalry Week for us.
That's what we do. Yeah.
So for those that are listening, EA and Santa Ma have this big, long, storied rivalry between the two schools. You know, they're the two of the older ones in the parish. You know, Dutchtown came along later, and we're both on the on this side of the river. Excuse me. And so it's a big deal every year. We make a big deal about it. We wear camo. You know, because like we're hunting gators, and y'all wear orange because it's like we're not afraid of you. Y'all can come find us. It doesn't matter. And it's always a lot of fun. Both schools have their different traditions that we do. But what is Spartan Week like over there at Santa Ma?
Well, I imagine it's a lot like what's going on over there. It's just absolutely crazy and chaotic, and kids are just having a ball. Everybody's excited about it. You know, the school's all decorated up, orange everywhere. Everybody's wearing orange all week. All the rooms are decorated orange. I imagine it's like that with you guys with the camo.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's just, you know, it's crazy, and it's so much fun. The worst part about EA Santa Week for me is people's houses getting rolled.
Oh yes.
You know, it started off, you know, you rolled the rivalry, you know, your rival's house, where it's at Santa Ma. I don't know if it's at EA, but at Santa Ma, it's like all the Santa Ma kids roll their friends' houses and roll their teachers' houses.
It's the same thing for us. And I'm like, my wife, who is a Santa Ma Gator, is like, we used to roll the EA people's house. Why are your band kids coming to roll our house?
Yeah.
Yeah, every year, like I'll go outside and EA band is on, spelled out in toilet paper in my yard, and I get to school and they're all like, he. Like, I don't know who did it, you know.
Well, yeah, and this is the first year. This will be news to everybody. This is the first year I'm gonna let kids roll my house again because we had Charles Anthony, and then 3 years later had Sterling. So I've had babies in the house, and I told a couple of them this year, all right, I guess I'll let y'all roll the house again. It took one time for 20 kids to show up on my front lawn, and I was like, oh no, never again.
Well, and it used to be would get rolled once. Now they start rolling on Monday, and they roll seems like Monday through Friday. And so the first, like a couple years ago, we went out and cleaned it up after the first day, and they came back. I'm like, no, we'll just leave it up, and then we'll get it over the weekend. Although I have this is a good story. I have some students who I already know they're going to do it, and their mom called me the other day and they said, all right, I'm going to give you a call when they're on the way, so you can be outside waiting for them with the garden hose. I said, all right, that sounds like a plan. So we'll see how that works out.
That was absolutely my plan. There was 1 year that I sat up till about 1 a.m. Like just waiting, and then I was like, man, I'm so tired. I fell asleep on the couch. In the 15 minutes that I was asleep, they rolled me, and I woke up and checked the camera. I was like, no.
I actually had last year I had a mole, and she told me, yeah, it's going to be Wednesday. We're coming at 11:30. I'm like, got it. I had this whole plan. I had buckets of water station, and I was going to I had like bags of flour I was going to throw on them and stuff. And like, I said, I don't care. I'm going to sleep. I let them do it.
Yep.
I think my favorite story for you, Charles, is that he told all the kids, you cannot touch my wife's car.
Oh, yeah.
So this one tuba player put one single sheet of toilet paper
underneath their wiper blade.
On her wiper blade.
Yeah, they've done that, or they'll take it and they'll just in the driveway they'll circle my wife's car, with the toilet paper, but they won't touch it. I'm like, okay, and she thinks that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of our fun rivalry, we do something every week called Civilian Questions, but this time we're gonna have a Spartan question for a Gator. So Coach Brownfield, as a Spartan, do you have a question for our Gator friend here?
Sure I do. Okay, so I love music, but I'm not a music aficionado and have no training and can't play. I can play ukulele a little bit. So my question is this. The alma maters, to me, they seem very different, and it's always interesting because I know, and of course, for you over there, you've heard that thing a million times, and we've heard ours a million times, but to hear the other one is always interesting because we just don't get to hear it very often. And I've been a very secret, and I don't like admitting this, but I will. I've been a very secret admirer of Santa Ma's alma mater for a long time.
It's gorgeous.
And because I think it's a little more serious. I feel like it's a little more, I don't want to say melancholy, but it's a little more, I'm trying to think, respectful of, it's just, I don't, well, EA's is not disrespectful, but EA seem a little more playful and a little more joyous, and Santa Ma seems a little more, it's a different approach, I guess I would say, and maybe a little more like almost like a hymn. It's a very different sound to it. And I was just wondering, what is your take on EA's alma mater compared to Santa Ma's, and just what would you say about the two, just to a general non-music audience?
Yeah, that is a great question and comment. Our alma mater was written by Vernon Toronto Jr., and the name Vernon Toronto is kind of a big deal in Ascension Parish. He was a band director. His son was a composer out in California at the time when the school opened. They commissioned him to write the alma mater. So it was written by a professional composer. He was doing some film stuff and out there. And if you hear our alma mater, it was written like 1978, right? And it sounds like 1978.
It does.
It sounds like, like music from like a Barbra Streisand soundtrack or something. If you really listen, it kind of has some of the chord structure.
Very cinematic, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And to be honest with you, I've always said this. I think we have the best alma mater in the country. I always say that, and not even if I didn't go to Santa Monica, I would think that. And of course, I know all the words to EA's alma mater. I mean, I don't know. I dated a girl in high school, and she was the drum major in the EA band. I was in the Santa Monica band, and for some reason, I would go to a lot of their events, and I still know in the 6th year of the 60s. I know all the words to East Ascension alma mater. So
funny.
yeah, but I think that one was written in a different time.
Yeah,
and I think
it's actually what a friend we have in Jesus is the hymn that
it is kind of based off of that, and I know DeLeo wrote it.
I never.
Yeah, DeLeo would. I did some research into that. DeLeo was a big church goer back in the day, and he would walk across town from church and stuff. He always whistling that song, and so when East Ascension High School opened up, that's where the alma mater came from. Was
so I can hear the.
I'll never be able to unhear that. Yeah. Now I hear it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can see that the Vernon Toronto Jr.'s cinematic approach, as opposed to the more hymn-like and choral approach of DeLeo, I can definitely hear the differences in the two, and how you would feel that way, Coach Brownfield, with those juxtaposed like that.
Yeah. Neat.
All right, so Joey, is there anything that we're now in the wrapping up period? Is there anything you wanted to add or talk about, or you good to go, or what you got, brother?
Well, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. This is amazing. We have such good friendships with everybody, all the band directors here. I'm sure the coaches are the same way. We're rivals, but we're all friends, and our kids, our band students are all friends with each other. I just think it's a great thing, the community we live in, where we can be rivals, but still get together and enjoy music making. And I appreciate you guys over at EA and all the band directors we have here. And I'm just proud to know you all.
Same here, man. We appreciate you, and it's a great working community to be a part of. So, all right. So we want to thank Joey again for coming out. It was such a blast to have him on the show today.
And you know what? We don't really get a chance to very rarely do we get a chance to just talk to one another outside of our band director duties. So it was good to have him.
A good chat. Good to hang out for a few minutes. But we should have asked him this. Maybe I have to ask him next time. What's on your playlist? What you been listening to, Mr. Lee?
All right, what has been on my playlist lately? Well, Metallica has been on my playlist again. I hate to be. Well, there's two things that's been on my playlist. Let me go to the Metallica thing real quick. When you're in high school and you have nothing else to do but to listen to loud music and make your parents angry,
of course.
I would do the thing where I'd buy the new CD and I'd pop it in the radio, crank it full blast, and
CDs are these little plastic discs with tape on the top that a laser scanner reads, and it goes into headphones with a wire and you hear sounds coming out of it.
They're typically found in large binders of plastic sleeves under your car seat.
Which I have one still with all of my
I do
CDs.
too. We have a DVD one too.
But what I would do back then, and most of us did back then, you'd find that one or two songs that you liked the most, and you would just play it over and over and wear it out, And so I've rediscovered a song called "All Nightmare Long" from the Death Magnetic album of Metallica that has just. It's like I'm hearing it for the first, and that's all. Every time I get in the car now, I put that song on, and then I'll find a different version of it, and I've listened to it 1,000 times. The other thing that's on my playlist, last week I told you about the woodworking stuff, but Mr. Gambino knows this, but a lot of people don't know this, but we like shaving as a hobby.
Yes, we do.
And, so I do the foam brush and the straight razor and the safety razor, all the different types of things. And
I still need to get my straight razor honed, but I'd use my safety razor and my oils and
there's
stuff.
A couple of people I watch on YouTube. So I've been watching a lot of haircut and shaving videos for the ASMR and just a relaxing.
Well, for those of you that don't know this, and most people don't know this, if I wasn't a band director, I would be a barber.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why. I love it. I love the idea of going into a barbershop, talking,
the whole experience.
Talking to the old guys, listening to stories, getting your hair cut, and you just feel refreshed after it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's on your playlist?
Such an old guy. So kind of in the same vein as the shaving videos-ish, in the fact that it's videos, is there's a company called Drumeo that puts a lot of great drum content out there. They do these drum covers where they invite famous drummers in. The one I was watching today was Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay.
Playing a 30 Seconds to Mars song, The Kill, that he's never heard before.
I love that series.
So they let him listen to it once without drums, and then they play it again with it. Like Chad Smith, like didn't even make it through one pass through. He just started playing through it. And like the funny thing was he killed it. Like it was almost perfect. Some of them do like way different, and it like it doesn't match the song, but it's how their drumming would be with it or what they think it would be with. And it's a really fascinating and fun and funny experience. And I love just listening to these cool covers of songs.
I watched one very recently. They had the drummer from Megadeth.
Yeah,
come in,
I watched that one too.
Was Mr. Brightside
Yep.
from the Killers, and his take on it was slower.
Yeah, it's like a halftime feel.
Yeah, it was
kind of a
halftime
deal.
feel at the beginning, but then he transitioned almost to the same as what.
Yep.
It's
I
really cool.
I liked when his double bass stuff started kicking in near the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
It was really good. Coach Brownfield, what about you?
And it's weird. It's actually a drummer.
Hey.
Lee Von Helm, the band.
Okay.
I've been listening to a lot of Lee Von Helm, and then just the band in general. Incredible sound.
That's awesome.
Speaking of not incredible sounds, that's the bell.
It's a out of tune, be natural.
Very
Yes.
much.
We try to harmonize to it sometimes. So, upbeat. What's coming up for us? We've got the Bayouland Classic in 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's our first real big competition.
Thibodeau High School.
At Thibodeau High School. We're looking forward to that. We should have the whole show on the field. We might not have all the bells and whistles with it, but the whole show will be on the field. Also, this week is All-State Round 2.
Yep.
We've got a bunch of people
8?
getting ready. 8 kids getting ready to audition for Round 2. So we want to wish them luck at Central High School. We know they're going to do fantastic. We've been quizzing them on that stuff all week, and we're going to put the pressure on them to hopefully get a bunch of kids in All-State this year.
Yep.
And then next week is Gator Week.
Gator Week.
Gator Week. I'm a Gator hater. Go Spartans. We all got to say it. We all got to do it.
Yep.
And I'm not looking forward to our houses getting rolled like we talked about
Yep.
with Mr. Nasser. But, it's a tradition.
Yep.
We love it. We're looking for the pregame. Looking forward to the pregame.
Yep.
Next week, that's going to
The
be a ton
evening
of fun.
before.
It's a blast. Miss Andrews does such a good job with it. So, folks, this is going to be all for From the Tower this week. We're looking forward to Gator Week next week, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
See you later.
I'm
Bye.
a Gator hater.
Go Spartans.
Go Spartans.